By the way, before we move on, a very important thing that I was also asked, and I was even tried to be, how do I put this one, ingrained when I was in uni as a student. A lot of teachers told me, even though knowing that I spoke really good English at that time, probably they were in denial, I don't know. They told me, Stan, you cannot learn your English without memorizing whole texts. Topics are important. Choose a topic, my hometown, learn the topic. When you start speaking, it will all come flooding back. I was like, oh, for real? What do you have to say on that? Memorizing whole texts, how effective is that in your book?
So you see, again, I can start a little bit from afar. You know, I have one wonderful, you know, methodologist, and I just worship her because she taught me one principle, which I swear by. And she says, whenever you do something, ask yourself why.
Yeah.
And what your goal is. So, and here we also have to ask ourselves why. If your why is to learn a text by heart and to be able to recite it as a poem, then please go ahead with texts. But if your why is to be able to speak English, no. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can learn collocations, you can learn chunks, because chunks actually constitute our language, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But not texts. Okay.
Yeah. What do you think the problem is with memorizing text? Because a lot of people would say, wait, stop here, but aren't we learning chunks when memorizing this text? Huh?
You do learn chunks, right? But the thing is that the kind of stretch of language is too big, yeah, because you do not reproduce the whole text. And what I'm driving at is that we should cram and memorize the stretch of language that we can reproduce, and we will be able to reproduce. And we reproduce chunks. We do not reproduce texts, okay? Because if you kind of remember some poem by Pushkin, I'm sure you can recite it perfectly from the beginning to the end, but it would be very troublesome for you to recite it somewhere from the third line.
Right,
okay?
right. I couldn't agree with you.
The sequence matters.
Oh, yeah. You know what? The only bone to pick with that, my favorite phrase, hi, Paul, again. By the way, Paul did say something on fluency. We will read it out a bit later. The only, like, I have a huge bone to pick with text in this respect. Let's put it that way. All right, a topic. First of all, who was it written by? Usually if it's this сборник тем, please just burn it. Really, I can say it like straight into your eye. Burn this, okay? Because first of all, it was written in the Soviet Union by non-native speakers like us, and however great we are, we're still non-natives. We can produce texts, of course we can, but we can't produce them to that level of authenticity. I'm sure Paul would agree, okay? Because he's watching. Still, something tells him, at least, that we're non-natives. First of all. Second of all, we live in this unfettered access to information. Why would we learn from someone who wrote some sort of a topic about some vague town, about some vague places of interest some time ago, right? Third, if it's a topic, it should be written by a native speaker who takes into consideration the learner's needs, level, right? Make sure that it sounds as authentic as possible, because don't forget that when you're speaking English or when you're writing English, those are two different animals, okay? Written text is totally different from speech, even if you try to mimic it. And we talked about that with Paul too. Paulina says, you're brilliant, guys. Thank you so much. By the way, Paulina is going to be with me too in 2 weeks. It's going to be a blast. And when you try to produce it as a native speaker, okay, it's half the battle, but then do thorough work with this topic. Spend time literally trying to peruse each and every phrase. Yeah, analyze it, break it down, assemble, disassemble, I don't know, learn it, recite it, for God's sake, right? But spend time not just translating, okay, not just reading or reciting, okay? And you know what, it always kind of sets me off on a rant, because it's like a really sore subject. It's still practiced. Teachers don't understand that you can't just memorize. I cannot imagine coming up to a native speaker like Paul, and Paul tells me, so how's the weather in Belgrade, mate? And I'm like, oh, the weather in Belgrade is usually fine. But usually, you know, in summer, it gets quite hot, you know? Really, I mean, who speaks like that, right? So that's what matters most. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if we still talk about texts, you know, I can suggest a very nice approach to how texts can be kind of used a little bit more efficiently. And here I can also kind of highlight the principal difference between cramming texts and between using texts.
Yes.
For example, I love texts. I'm a fan of texts. I'm besotted with texts, and I do get a lot of vocabulary from this. And you can see that my texts look like that. So see, I have the whole text and it's highlighted there.
Look, my books look like that.
Absolutely. We can say, you know, some atrocities that have happened to this book. Yeah, expert deficiency. I know that Paulina will bite my head off for this because she loves books. And I do some, you know, absolutely merciless things to them. One moment. I can find some. Yeah, it basically looks like this. So I highlight everything, you know, no chunk slips my attention.
Right.
And then I cram this. So what I'm driving at is that I do need text. I highlight some nice chunks in them, and I do not even write anything out. So I just leave them in the text. I can scribble a couple of notes here, again, just to understand the meaning better if the item is completely new to me. But I use text mainly as a source of meaningful context, right? So I learn a chunk, but it is still placed into the text just to provide some meaningful context for me, so that I can put myself into this context, I can understand, I can feel, something can resonate with me, I mean, some ideas, and this kind of gives me better chances to eventually end up memorizing it and being able to use it. So text shouldn't be something to cram, right? But texts should be your source of meaningful context in which you put these words, or chunks, or collocations, whatever.
While we're doing this serious talk, you guys are just having fun. We like it so much.